In this video, I want to go over some of the basics of the way the board is set up, the board layout, go over some lists, cards, the way that those work, and some of the tools that we have within a card to communicate back and forth. Looking at boards, the board is basically the main category of conversation that you're going to have. So we discussed this a little bit in the previous video, but what you're going to do is whatever conversation you're needing to have, whatever subject that closely fits best at, and that's not 100% cut in stone. You may have something, take video and photography for example. You may be working on fundraising or on a mission trip or something else that you need a video or some photography for that, but that's part of your mission trip discussion. It's perfectly fine. We can tag it as, it's perfectly fine to put it in the mission trips board and then tag whoever needs to be in on that conversation for the video or photography. So it doesn't necessarily have to go under that board. There will be some crossover, but whichever board it best fits under is where you should add your card. But looking at, we can go to the video and photography board just to look as an example. So looking at this board, the way that it's laid out is you're going to have lists, and that's these main framed lists that you see across the top. And for the video and photography board, we've got 4. Most of the new ones that have been set up are going to have these 3. You're going to have to do, in progress, and done. And the thinking behind that is that as we're generating ideas, as we find things that we need to get done, we're going to come in here and create a card on the to-do list. So that's where it's going to be generated. We're going to, in the description of that card, we're going to put a description of what needs to happen for that task. And then as that task moves across, as we get to working on it, we're going to move that across into the in progress list. And so we'll know that that's something that's actively being worked on. And as it moves through progress and we get to a point to where it's done, we'll then move it into the done list. So we can kind of keep things clean in the to do and the in progress lists, and we don't have things that are actually done that are in those. So as it moves through a natural progression, it's going to move to in progress and then into done. The videos needed list that's on here is one that's just kind of been created special because we actually had a list of these are going to be fairly large projects in and of themselves, each one of them. So instead of clogging up the to-do list, we went ahead and created a videos needed list, and we'll work with those from there. And so you do have the ability to do that as needed on a board, and to do that you just come over here to the add list. Give it a name and save, and it'll pop up on your board, no problem. Looking at some of the tools that we have across the top of the screen in the boards, you'll see that you've got your standard tools that we went over in the first video. Across the top, you'll have those no matter what board you're on. Looking at the next layer down here, basically the title section, I guess you could call it, of the boards. You're going to have your actual board title. So we're in video and photography. Next to that, it's going to show you what team this is in. So all of our boards should be in the Love Him, Love Them team. So you'll see that this is going to show you, I have this board starred. So it's showing me a star that this is one of my favorites. And then this section is going to show you that all of ours should be team visible. Please don't change this for any existing boards. They all need to be team visible so that everyone that's part of the team can see the boards at all times and access that information. We don't need to change that. Looking across, we'll go over this calendar button in just a second. But then over here on the right, we've got the menu for the board. And so this is where if you need to add any members to your board or a board that you're working on, you can do that in this menu. You hit it's going to show you the team members that are already added to it up top, and then any that are invited that haven't accepted yet will show right below that. And then you can go hit the add members button and add anybody that you need to. If it's someone that's already been added to our Love Him, Love Them team, but they're just not added to this board yet, they will show down in this section. If they have not been added to our team yet, you will need to invite them to the board you can contact me if that needs to happen. I can do that for you as well. But this is a place you would do it. You would put their email address in this line, and it'll pop up some options to send them an email to invite them to the board. One thing to remember is if you invite them to a board, they will only have access to that board, and they will not be part of the Love Him, Love Them team yet. So if you do invite someone to a board, let me know so that I can get them added to our team as well, so they can access all of our boards. There's some other tools that are down here. We won't be using many of them. We can. Some of them are a little cheesy kind of things, but we can certainly use them if you feel led to. That's not a problem. There's stickers. You can filter your cards in here, but I don't necessarily know that we'll need to. We make it get to a point, if we've got hundreds of cards that are active at the same time, then you may need to be able to filter your cards, so you've got that tool in there. You can change the background color of the board. If you're on a board that you're on often and you just hate the background color, feel free to change it. But it would be helpful if we can kind of keep them different colors so that they're not, so that you can identify them a little bit easier as you're going through the boards list, since we have so many. The other thing, and this goes back up to the calendar button that we had up here. There are power-ups for the boards. We're on the free version of Trello, and that will only allow one power-up on a board at a time. I have the calendar power-up, and what it allows is for, let's go out here. You can pull up this calendar to pull up a calendar view, and any due dates that you have on cards that are existing, it will show them on a calendar. So you can go through and look and see, like, okay, so we've got something that we need to have by the 18th down here. We've got another that we're wanting to get done by the end of the month. Keep in mind that these will only show if you have a due date on your card. If you don't have a due date, it's not going to show on the calendar view. But to that point, as far as the calendar, they have quite a few different things, and they do all kinds of different things. The calendar seems like it would probably be most helpful to us, but there are others. There's Google Drive integration. The thing with Google Drive, and there's even Dropbox integration, but Google Drive and Dropbox are basically already integrated anyway, so adding this power up I don't really think is going to help us much. This custom fields power up could be useful if you have cards. You can basically design a card the way that you want and put fields that need to be filled out in that card. Every card that's generated on the board will have those custom fields on it, though, so you need to remember that. But if anyone has any questions about power-ups or needs any help getting those set up, you can let me know, and I can definitely help you. And looking, I think there's a more that gives you have the ability to archive cards and items within a board, and if you need to, within that menu, go into the more menu, you can access those archived items. Archived basically means that it's been taken off the board, but it hasn't been deleted altogether. There, you can subscribe to the board as a whole here in the more setting as well. There's some of these other settings that we probably won't use that much. Copying the board, you could take an entire board, cards and everything included, and copy it, but I don't know that we'll ever need to do that. And just be careful, because you can close the board in this menu as well, and we don't want to do that. Going through and looking at the cards in general, we already went over the list. So each one of these silos, I guess you could call them, is a list. Within those lists are cards, and cards make up those lists. And the way that we need to use a card is pretty much any individual task. So be careful when you're creating cards. Don't create one card and list 5 or 6 or 7 different tasks under that card. Each individual task needs to have its own card so that we can track it. We can put due dates on it. We can have conversation on it. We can search for that one task so that things don't get too convoluted. But looking at a card, you can add a card at the bottom of a list. So we're here in the to-do, say we're having a meeting or whatever, and decided we were going to do something. We'll run a test 1 is what we'll call this. And so when you're creating the card here, basically what you're doing here is just giving the card a title. You'll have, once you get it set up, you'll be able to add some more information. But for right now, that's basically all that's being done. So once you get that title in there, you can hit add, and it just created my card for me. You have some of these tools that are available to you by opening your card, but if you see this pencil icon that comes up as you hover over the card, you can click that, and it gives you some tools to go ahead and add some information right here from the board without opening the card entirely. You can put labels on it, and we don't have any labels set up right now. Right now, if you chose a label, it's just going to put a little color line on there, basically, just like this. But we can set these up. You can come over here and edit these and actually put a word in there so that, green always means whatever you would want it to be. And labels will be individual per board. This will be important. You can come over here and add members to that individual card. And so the way that needs to work is if you have a task, whoever's going to be involved in that task specifically, if they're going to have things that they need to do or they need to be part of that conversation, you need to assign them to that card, including yourself. So if you set it up, it's not going to assign you automatically. You need to include yourself if that's something that you're going to be part of, and then go ahead and go through and assign any other people that would be part of that conversation. And it's going to be important as we get lots and lots of cards going at the same time to keep up with who's part of that conversation, and so that people aren't being missed in those conversations. You can move this card. I can't imagine you would need to right now, but it's here. So keep that in mind, that pretty much what you're telling it to do. You can move it to an entirely different board if you wanted to. I don't think that would happen too often, but you've got the ability to. You can also move it within the list on your board. So right now it's in the to-do list, but we've got the options to go send it back to the videos list, send it to in progress, or send it to done. And you can even tell it what position within the list you're sending it to. You can give it a position, so it would, put it at the bottom of the list or put it in the middle. You can rank it from, 1 being the very top one on the list all the way down. You can copy that card that you've created. You can assign a due date to that card. So and this is a fairly new thing with Trello, they just allowed this tool, but putting a due date on a card, you can give it a due date, and so due date and even a time on that date. I think it defaults to 12 p.m. But you can do that, and once you've got that due date on there, you can also archive from here as well. So we'll go ahead and save those changes that we made and pull up our card entirely. One thing I wanted to show you with your due date is you have a checkbox. So you're saying, hey, this needs to be done by December 12th, whatever day it may be. You can come in, and if it's done, you can come and check it to say, okay, this due date, this task has been accomplished, and it's checked off. Okay, so looking at the card, and Trello, they basically call this the card front, and once you open it up, the card back that has more information on it. Looking at it, you're going to have your title up here. It's going to tell you what list it's in on the board. It's in the to-do list. It's going to show you the members that are assigned. You can assign new members with this plus button here, or over here with the members button. Same thing with labels. You can assign a new one, or you've got labels, the labels button over here. Any card that gets created, so as you're having a conversation or you've got an idea, come in here in the description and fill out some more information about whatever it may be. Just so that anybody that's looking at this card can quickly tell what's going on, what this card is about, any of those kinds of things. So you need to fill out that description. And then within that card, you've got your comments feed. So this works a lot like, so if any of you are on Facebook or Twitter, probably more so Facebook, it works a lot like that. So you have a comment, it's going to post the comment down below the activity down here once you post it. So we can add our comment. You do that. So it's just going to add a comment here. And once that comment is there, you have the ability to edit it if you need to, or you can delete it. Someone else coming in could also reply to that specific comment, or they can come in and add a new comment on the card if they want to. Looking at some of the tools you have over on the right side of the card, this is going back to what we said before. You've got members where you can add or take away a member from a card. You can add any labels that you want to put on there. This checklist tool is a pretty neat thing. You can add a checklist to your card. So if there's things that need to be done, so we can add, say, test 2, test 3. So you can add items that can be checked off within that card. And then as you go through and those get done, it's going to show you progress, a progress bar up top to show you that, okay, we're 67% of the way done. And you can check those off and check them off as they get done. Here's the due date again. So if you need to change the due date or add a due date, you can do that from this pane. And then any attachments. So Trello allows for attachments. You can upload something from your computer. If there's something that's saved in Dropbox or Google Drive, Box is another, same thing pretty much as Dropbox, just another company, and OneDrive as well. You can upload from any of those services. You can also, if there's a link that you need to put into the card, you can put that link in here. One example was we set up a test site for the new website, and we're able to put that link in here. So there's a card that's on the website board that has the actual link to the website in it. And so you can put that website address in there and attach, and it'll show it right in the middle of the card. You have more of those same actions that we looked at on the menu on the actual board. You can move this card, you can copy it, you can subscribe to this card, and it will automatically subscribe you if you add yourself as a member. Any members that are added to the card are automatically going to be subscribed to it, and what that means is they will get notifications for any changes that are made on the card. And down here on the bottom, you got the ability to archive this card. And once again, that means that you're removing it from being seen on the board, but you're not deleting it entirely. So that could be done if we've got it set up so that once a task is done, it ends up in the done list. If we get to a point to where the done list is getting very long, we would need to go in and start archiving cards that have been completed. And down here you've got the share and more. So you can actually send a link to this card, so if you need to send that to somebody, but the idea is that anybody that should be working on that card should already be a member of that card, so you shouldn't have to do this, but that tool is there if needed. And they give us the ability to actually email to this card, so you could send something from your email to this email address, and it would post to this card. I would suggest just logging into Trello and making any updates that you need to, but that is there as well. Down on the bottom, this show details link, it's going to give you everything that's been, if you show the details, it's going to show you everything, not just the comments that have been posted on the card, but everything that's been done to it. So you can look through the list. It says it's been added to do, that I joined this card, that I added Linda's, so literally every change that's happened to the card is going to show you that. Most of the time I turn those off unless there's something that specifically needs to be looked for. So that's pretty much an overview of the card, and the idea for the comments is that, so as we set up a task and we get a description in here, any of the players, the members for that card that need to have conversations back and forth, that will happen in the comments on that card, and anybody else would be able to view those for information later down the road if needed. So that is a good overview of the boards, the lists, the cards that are within each one of them. There's some very powerful tools within the boards and the cards. Attachments is a really big deal. That checklist is a big deal. I think we'll use that a lot. And this is going to be a very good tool, I think, for us to keep our communications in one place and to keep everybody on the same page with what's going on, because we do have a lot going on, and that's a good thing. Things are definitely growing for the ministry, and we're excited about what's coming.